presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are St. Louis.
This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball, and it's the 4th of July. No better way to spend it than right here at the ballpark in Busch Stadium in St. Louis. It's game number 2 of the Miami Marlins and the St. Louis Cardinals. Fireworks after the game, fireworks during the game for the St. Louis Cardinals. A season high, 14 runs scored. Luke Voit, his first ever Major League home run. And the Cardinals had a lot of fun in Game 1. The Academy Sports and Outdoors leaderboard, 14 runs, a season high. Tied for a season high at home with 15 hits. 4 runs in the first inning, that's a season high, and 7 runs in the third. We turn the page, it's now game number 2. That's Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jim Hayes is here as well. Happy 4th of July, and happy 4th of July to you, Rick Horton.
Same to you, Dan. I love this intersection of America's birthday and America's pastime. We've seen some great moments in history on the 4th of July in baseball. Some of the great moments, though, are family moments, sharing the day and the game.
Now some of those moments between the white lines, we're going to take a look at that before our first pitch. It'll be delivered by Lance Lynn here this afternoon. Fastballs on the 4th. That's all about Lance Lynn. Baseball is coming up. St. Louis Cardinals baseball on the 4th of July here on Fox Sports Midwest. We're hoping for some great moments here today. We've had some great ones in the past. Let's take a look.
High in the air to left. How about this? Could it be on his first major league at bat a home run? Keith McDonald. The pitch. Swing and hello, 4th of July. Take a ride on that knockdown pitch, big boy. Kerry Wood knocked him down, and now Albert looks at him.
Another 2-2 pitch to Albert Pujols. Down the left field line, and it is gone! Off the foul pole for number 300 for Albert Pujols.
Adam Wainwright, he lines this one into right center field, and it's down! A bases clearing double. And down goes Fielder as the Cardinals win 7-1. There's a strike on the inside corner. The fans love it. The 1-1 pitch to Hamilton is grounded towards third. This is going to be a tough play for Roland. He's in the hole. Close play. He's safe at first. Infield hit for Mark Hamilton. And the Cardinals take the lead.
Life famous among friends. By Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road. Find yours at your local Mid-America Chevy dealer. By Menards, save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, for all for less. Joey Chestnut today, 72 hot dogs that he ate, 72 in 10 minutes. You get a look at Luke Voigt at first base again today.
Love having him back in the lineup again. He has been terrific his first week in the big leagues. Lance Lynn gets the start. Number 17 for him. He has been very tough on right-handed batters.
The Hyundai pitch arsenal with Lance Lynn, and as we've talked about many times, a lot of fastballs from the Cardinals right-hander.
Nearly 80%, two different kinds of fastballs, the sinker, the fastball that'll ride up in the zone. Lance very good at mixing those two types of fastballs, using the cutter a bit more. And his breaking pitch, I'm not sure whether it's a slider or a curveball. It's really in between. We'll call it a slurve, but occasionally that can be effective for him. He won his last time out.
Dee Gordon will lead things off for Don Mattingly's club. Gordon with 29 steals this season. Then Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich, Marcell Ozuna, Justin Bour, Martin Prado, JT Riddle, AJ Ellis, and Jose Urena. Let's turn to our Toyota keys to the game with Lance Lynn.
Well, it's important for him. You look at the last 3 starts, the soft contact has been up. That's good, but so has the hard contact. So he's kind of either been in or out the last 3 games, and I think that's showed in the results. He only gave up 3 runs his last time out, but that happened with just 4 hits allowed, including a home run to Goldschmidt. So the key for Lance is as much soft contact as possible, and really to keep the pitch count low as well.
Well, the Cardinals have won now 4 straight games against the Marlins this season. A sweep in Miami of a 3-game series and a win yesterday. Here's a 1-0. 1 ball and 1 strike. In the 4 games, the Cardinals have scored 36 runs and really dominated the pitching staff of Miami. And the 1-1. Calling the balls and strikes, the crew chief, Paul Emmel. Ryan O'Nora is at first base. Scott Berry at second. Quinn Wolcott is at third. The patriotic mask of Paul Emmel. There's a base hit by D. Gordon on a 1-2.
There's the hard contact we talked about. And with Gordon aboard, you have to be careful of his 29 stolen bases. He's only been caught 5 times.
Hard contact, that means 101 miles per hour off the bat of D. Gordon. And Stanton will be the hitter.
Stanton had one yesterday at 117. The line out to center field. Didn't get a chance to ask Tommy Pham whether or not that hurt for him to catch that ball in center, but I'm guessing it did.
Kind of ball too that sometimes they take off, a little rise to it, other times it knuckles, but it was hard hit. Stanton will be the signature figure in the home run derby next Monday in Miami. May have noticed with Stanton, he has closed up his stance a little bit this year. That front leg more towards the plate. As they work on the dirt over at first base. Grounds crews have been known, if there's a speedster or two, to maybe water that area a little bit more than normal. I'm sure with your days, the running Redbirds, you may have seen that a time or two.
We saw that a lot on the road. Go into a new field and say, when's the last time it rained here? Oh, about a month ago.
Right. 2 balls, no strikes on Stanton.
Well, usually a player will close up because he's having trouble inside. And I know that's almost counterintuitive, but they close up because they figure they're going to open up their first move with that front foot when the ball's on its way in.
Here's a 2-0. 2 balls and 1 strike. I don't recall Stephen Piscotty playing that deep in right field for a right-handed batter. Now you can understand why, it's Stanton, but that is really deep and right.
No doubles defense, and we just started. Usually that's a 7th inning and beyond defense.
The 2-1. Lost his bat right over the head of the bat boy and Christian Yelich on deck. That's the 3rd time we've seen that during this homestand with a particular player.
Well, Yelich got a bird's eye view of it. The bat goes. Stanton just happy that it missed Yelich. We see him getting out of the way at the last minute there.
Two balls and 2 strikes. Gordon, your runner at first base.
You normally see that happen with a changeup pitcher.
He is running. Strike him out. Throw him out. What a way to start on the 4th of July. Double play.
Such a quick release by Yachty. He's got it. Now it's out of his hand, right on the money. Look at that throw. And as I look at it a second time, I wasn't sure if he was actually out, but we'll just go ahead and hurry up and hope nobody sees that.
With that, the crew chief over with Don Mattingly to find out if indeed they would challenge. They will not. And it's a double play. Nice start to this game for the Cardinals.
Well, I wondered whether Carpenter had thought he'd missed him, because on the first tag, again, right on the money, looks like he does tag him, hard to say, but after he goes off the base, Carpenter goes back to try to tag him again, and that gave me an indication that maybe he thought he missed him the first time.
Here's Christian Yelich. Some emotion there from Lance Lynn. He was fired up after that play. Lynn 6-5 this year, 3.90 ERA.
Think about how players, Dan, have had to adjust to the fact that there's review over the last 3 years. We look at the Dobbs Tire and Auto Center's defense. Grichuk, Pham, and Piscotty in the outfield from left to right. Garcia getting the start at third. DeYoung at short. Carpenter and Voit on the right side. But the adjustment I'm talking about used to be the trigger was the umpire's call. So if he says he's out, the first thing you do is you would never dive back on him again because the umpire said he was out. But just because he says he's out doesn't mean he is out. And so players have had to learn that even though the call goes your way, you have to keep playing.
3-0 pitch. 3-1. Lynn a little bit frustrated in this at bat. He's had 2 pitches that just missed. One a little high, the other one a little low. The outside corner, didn't get the call, was staring back at the home plate umpire. Ground ball that's hit to short. Ball to Young. And after a leadoff base hit by Gordon, he's erased on the strikeout, throw-out double play. And Yelich grounding out to short. Lynn having words with the home plate umpire. Only the 6th time he's been caught. And there's no score. For the bottom of the first. It was a long day yesterday for Jeff Locke as he was roughed up by this Cardinals offense. And it'll be Matt Carpenter who will lead things off, and then Tommy Pham, Stephen Piscotty, Luke Voit will bat cleanup, Yadier Molina, Randall Grichuk, Paul DeYoung, Greg Garcia, Lance Lynn. It was such a rough start that Locke was designated for assignment after the game. Well, we were talking about this yesterday, and I asked the question, sometimes is it good to be a little wild? And you said, absolutely. The Hyundai pitch arsenal on Jose Urena can be effectively wild.
Fastball slider change. He'll use the slider more against righties and the change more against lefties, which is very natural. Cardinals do not have a lot of left-handed batters really on their roster at the moment. Carpenter, of course, one of them. Garcia in the lineup. But Urena had won 5 straight games. Lost his last time out, but didn't pitch too badly. So he's been one of the
good starters in this rotation for Don Mattingly.
He's got a live fastball too. He can get it up to 98, 99. He's hit triple digits before. He's worked at times out of their bullpen and now in the rotation. Two balls and one strike on Carpenter, who's hitting .231.
Probably been 4 years, Dan, maybe longer than that, when I first saw Urania pitch on one of the backfields at the complex. Of course, the Marlins and the Cardinals share the complex, and I made a note of his name on the back because I thought this guy's got an arm. And he was a prospect, or has been a prospect, and he's been one of the guys that's really developed. I guess we have another left-handed bat on our lineup I wasn't aware of.
Well, Carlos is pulled the pants up like Carpenter. He's doing the lean back, that little trigger mechanism that Carpenter's got. That's pretty good right there.
Wonder if Matt knows that's going on.
Put it this way, he will. Look at Colt Wong. What is he doing? And a liner that's caught by D. Gordon. Yeah, I don't think he'll mind the imitation of the swing. It's the pants that are halfway up his belly. I think that would bother him.
Well, sometimes you have to exaggerate. Now it's Tommy Pham. This could be entertaining.
I miss the cups that he used to stack, but I'll take the imitations any day. The Kia in the driver's seat, and Tommy Pham, when he starts, the club is 2 games above 500, and then when he hits, a lot of times they're winning. Yesterday he reached base 5 times and went 3 for 3.
He's got the scowl and everything.
The strikeout of Pham, and there's 2 away. Brings in Stephen Piscotty.
Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Is
That's
that right?
So 2 outs and nobody on as Piscotty lifts a fly ball into shallow left, and the catch is made by Marcell Ozuna. The Cardinals go in order. We move to the 2nd inning, and there's no score here on the 4th of July. Voit on a 3-2 pitch. You think he knew it? Get the Sammy Sosa hop to it too. He got all of it. Home run for Luke Voit, his first in the major leagues, and he does it in his hometown. With more on that, let's check in with Jimmy.
What a story. The local kid who grew up pretending he was Mark McGwire, swatting home flies, swatting home runs, makes it a reality last night, getting his first big league home run. He said after, I was waiting to do that my entire life. Voit also had a 2-run double last night and has hit very well in his short big league career, so much so he's getting a start against a right-hander today. Mike Matheny told me he takes such a good at-bat, and his minor league splits actually favor right-handers. He probably had our best at-bat the other day against Scherzer. And Dan, when I talked to Luke earlier today, he asked me for an on-air reminder. He said, tell Grandma Joan she owes me $25 for that homer. So I guess the meter is still running.
I would guess so. 1 ball and 1 strike here on Marcell Ozuna. Speaking of home runs, I'm not sure we're going to get one off the bat of Lance Lynn. However, we will get a different look at Lance Lynn in the batter's box today.
Yeah, he's going to bat as a left-handed batter today. Not sure why. When I asked Lynn, he told me he was taking swings in the cage as a lefty. And in his words, the metrics were through the roof, especially the launch angle. I don't know about that, but I do know he's a constant delight.
A constant delight, no question, Jimmy, as Pham puts that away, and Ozuna is the first out here in the 2nd inning. So he's batting under 100 in his career, and he will hit from the left side. The only concern you have with that, why a right-handed pitcher would bat from the right side, is to protect that arm.
Well, you're exposing your arm, so that there are a lot of baseball people that have said that if you can not do that, it may be a healthier choice as long as he sees the ball okay. I mean, Rain, you can get it up there pretty quickly, and it's not as if Lance has really had it working from the right side. He's not really been a great hitter in his career, and he's trying to do something different, see if it works. Wouldn't that be something to find out after all these years in the big leagues? You're 30 years old and you find out that you're a really left-handed batter.
His swing looked fairly comfortable too in batting practice. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Well, you've heard me tell the story, Dan, many times of the most amazing moment I've ever seen in baseball, and that was Joaquin Andujar hitting a home run left-handed. The grand slam, in fact.
4 retired. And he called it too, is that right?
He called it in the on-deck circle. He told everybody, I'm going to hit left-handed. I'm hitting one over the wagon gate in Old Busch Stadium, and he did. And it was a blast to hit it out in right center in Busch Stadium too. Did it off of Jeff Dedman, pitcher for the Atlanta Braves, and he'd never hit left-handed in the big leagues, and tried it. And I'm not expecting the same thing from Lance Lynn, but wouldn't that be something?
Unbelievable. Well, StatCast will tell you his launch angle in batting practice was a lot better than right-handed.
Well, I can tell you there are a lot of great launch angles in batting practice.
Here's Martin Prado, who's hitting .301.
We have great launch angles at our fantasy camp until somebody starts to throw it with a little movement to it.
The equalizer of a little sink, a little cut, curveball, changeup. Velocity. A couple years ago, Jason Isringhausen was hitting 92 to 94 on the gun still at fantasy camp. Same with Ryan Franklin. And there was a couple of campers that knew just how hard they were throwing because they took one in the ribs. Got a little lippy.
But we want campers to know not only what it looks like, but what it feels like.
And they did. Here's the 0-2 pitch.
How's that for a sales for fantasy camp?
Yeah, come on down and get hit by 95-mile-an-hour fastballs. Welcome. 2 strikeouts for Lynn. Coming up, it'll be Voit, Molina, and Grichuk. the Marlins and the Cardinals. Time now for the T-Mobile Unlimited Baseball Break. The Boston Red Sox have won 5 straight. The Dodgers playing great baseball. They lead by 2.5 games in the West. They're 20-4 since June 7th. And Houston, pretty big sample size now with a plus 124 run differential. And that leads the American League along with their 56 wins.
You know, the Dodgers have dominated the National League Central even more so than the Cardinals have dominated the National League East. Cardinals have a great record against the East, 15-4. And they're playing Miami now, of course, and then the Mets to follow.
Two balls and no strikes. Well, if you played this game as a kid, probably at some point or another, you imitated your favorite big league player. As Voit taps it out in front of the plate, foul ball. One of my favorites, Willie McGee, with his walk, the shuffle, how he would get ready for either side of the plate, the switch hitter.
It's fair, and it's not.
Ron Swoboda, my partner's favorite player. Is that correct?
I used to imitate him all the time. You bet. Jerry Kuzman, Tom Seaver were some of the guys I imitated. We had a funny moment at Busch Stadium too when John Morris had someone go into Kirk Gibson's locker, get his jersey. Morris was a center fielder for St. Louis, and he put on Gibson's jersey and went out during BP and imitated his home run and his trot. And Gibby was not happy.
Is that right?
Oh, he was not happy. They'd taken his uniform. He had a little paunch on him too. I think that was part of the deal. And he had the eye black and the scowl and hit the home run and then kind of slowly hopped around the bases. And Kirk Gibson was not happy about it.
Voit out to left and Ozuna with the catch. Brings in Yadier Molina. Third 3-hit game of the season last night. Yadi headed to the All-Star game. He did not play in 2012. He was on the list to be a part of the National League team, on the bereavement list. But Johnny Bench with 14 appearances, Mike Piazza 12. Are the only National League catchers to have made more All-Star appearances than Molina. Outfield is straight away. And the 1-1 pitch.
Not a bad location. Couldn't get Molina to bite at that slider, but that's a pitcher's pitch.
2-2. Well, you get the idea just watching early on how the ball explodes out of his hand and why the Marlins are so high on Urania. The 2-2. On a hop to D. Gordon, who has won a Gold Glove, puts it away. That's 5 up and 5 down. Crush Home Runs dominated your very own Derby competition. The official MLB.com Home Run Derby game on the App Store and Google Play. Swing for the fences against more than 10 million players from around the world as your favorite Derby All-Star. And download Home Run Derby for free today. Randall Grichuk 1 for 5 last night. I would think that Carlos would be able to imitate Randall Grichuk. Slaps that back leg deep in the box. Did it in the first inning. He's not doing it now.
Guess he's just taking an inning off. I was entertained by that.
Me too. Here's a 2-0 pitch to Randall Grichuk. 3-0.
My guess is if the Cardinals would have scored 3 or 4 runs in the first inning, he would have kept going.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't call that necessarily in the category of superstition, but that may be in the category of wise decision.
I like your socks, by the way.
Thank you. Had them on since 9 in the morning.
The patriotic giveaway, the patriotic socks. Adults and the kids. Outside, and that's ball 4.
So many great giveaways throughout the course of the season. And this 4th of July holiday is no exception.
Here's Paul DeYoung over his last 7. He's done a nice job at shortstop after the demotion of Aledmys Diaz to AAA. Aaron Judge with another home run, number 28 this year. The 4th hardest shot of the year. It came off his bat at 118.4 miles per hour. It'll be part of the home run derby on Monday. I would say this strike zone is tight on both sides. Around the Horn is presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Ozuna, Yelich, and Stanton in the outfield. Prado, Riddle, Gordon, and Bohr on the infield. A.J. Ellis is behind the plate. Talk so much about the speed of the game or lack thereof, and in my mind it's about the strike zone. I don't know if you agree with that.
Couldn't agree more.
We were talking before the game and you mentioned how if you put K zone, let's just say you had video from a game in the mid 1980s, the 70s, whatever the case may be, and you put K zone there, you would see so many balls that were called strikes back then.
I would bet 25 to 30 pitches outside the K zone would be called strikes on an average game. I'm not sure if we have the technology to do that, to superimpose that, but I do believe that's true. You'd get the corner and then some. And it was really standard operating procedure too, Dan, that if you threw it on the corner, you could get a little more. It was almost as if the home plate area was malleable. You could actually get an inch or two, especially if you were a guy like Fernando Valenzuela and others that proved that they could throw that pitch on that corner. They'd give you more.
Here's a 2-2. A little bit high. I think about Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine. Certainly great pitchers. No question about it. But if they got a little bit of that zone with their impeccable control, they would just keep pounding it towards that direction.
Absolutely.
3-2. Runner at first is Randal Grichuk. He'll be off with this pitch with 2 outs.
And I'm not even making the case that that's right or wrong or better or worse, but it's why there's more offense. And I think it's why the game's slower and why there's more home run potential. And of course, the players are bigger and stronger as well. But you give a pitcher the knees and below the knees and the corners more, and you would change the way the game is played.
The strike zone does fluctuate with each hitter depending on their stance. So you've got essentially where the bird is on the bat to the bottom of the knee as he drops down in his stance. That's your strike zone. It fluctuates with a guy like Aaron Judge, who's bigger, or a Jose Martinez. But that is supposed to be the strike zone.
Well, the oddity in baseball is that baseball certainly wants more offense and they want shorter games, and you're going to have to pick.
Three and 2 the count. And DeYoung pops it up. Ellis gives it a look, and it's out of play. I've said this many times. There's over 40,000 here probably today. Right around it. If you went to these fans and said, well, are you upset with the pace of play? 99% of them would say, I could care less.
At the ballpark.
Yeah.
Correct.
Enjoying time with my family, being out of work, taking in a game. And a strikeout of DeYoung. Second for Urania. Aggie Sirianni always answered the phone with a smile. Been here for a long time. We love Aggie.
Andrew, whatever her name is. But anyway.
Nine hits today. You're invited into Krispy Kreme tomorrow. Receive a dozen of their original glazed donuts for only $3.99. Stop by one of the 5 St. Louis area Krispy Kreme locations or the locations in Bloomington or Springfield, Illinois for this sensational deal. Sometimes when you have live television, cameras will pick up things that sometimes you hope that they don't. And here at the ballpark, it's a live camera that's catching certain people. This one was the kiss cam. And he had a message for all the fans.
That the Cardinals are #1.
That's right. There's a base hit for Riddle. The second hit for Miami. Freddie Freeman, by the way, has been activated by the Braves, and he will start at third base tonight for Atlanta. Matt Adams will be at first.
I've been thinking about that deal that the Cardinals made, and I know a number of folks are maybe disappointed that Matt Adams left and that he's playing well. I'm happy for him, first and foremost, but one of the reasons that the Cardinals could make that deal is they felt like they had some options beyond Matt Carpenter. If you wanted to move Matt Carpenter somewhere, you have a guy like Luke Voigt who's playing well in AAA, and not that we're happy with what Matt did, but it was the time for him to play.
He has had 12 home runs in 39 games, and he's driven in 32 in those 39. It's Garcia in foul territory, makes the catch. Mention how the grounds crew will do some work to benefit certain players. It's kind of the home field advantage, if you will. For Greg Garcia, he's walking on it right now. There it is. He's going to grab some of that drying agent. He says he gets really sweaty with his hands, and so that little strip there with the grass, depending on where he's going to play, they'll put some of that drying agent out there to help him out.
Not unusual for the grounds crew, and they do a terrific job. Each one of the members, especially the infielders, will talk to them. What do you like? What do you need? I mean, it's a partnership. Now, they're not going to talk to the other team and ask them what they want and what they need. can do that at their ballpark.
So Garcia is on the grass at third base. Voit is holding at first. Stabs at it, 2 strikes.
Urania 50 career at-bats in the big leagues without an RBI, just 5 hits. Does have 4 sacrifice bunts. I think if you're Lance Lynn, you throw one up in the zone right now, 0-2. Out of the zone, that riding high fastball that even if he does get a bat on it, he'll pop it up. Not one of those guys you're worried about who's a good hitting pitcher who may pull the bat back and swing. I don't think you'll see that with Urania.
Outfield very shallow, the 0-2. Urania gets it down. Lynn to first base. There's 2 outs.
I think they made that too easy for Urania. I think that's a mistake. It's not a mistake that's going to show up on any scoreboard anywhere or any scorecard, but 0-2, and he throws one kind of just in the middle of the plate. I don't think that's where it was intended to go. You saw Yachty leaning outside, but that's just an easier pitch for a pitcher to bunt.
And in steps D. Gordon.
Just hope that doesn't hurt you.
Singled to center, first time up on a 1-2 pitch. Then was gunned down by Yadier Molina at second base trying to steal. Turned into a double play after the strikeout of Stanton. And there's strike 1.
We were talking about Matt Adams, Dan. I wanted to say, and I mentioned it earlier, just how right-handed batting the Cardinals have become. Adams is not here. Wong is on the DL. Dexter Fowler's on the DL, who's much better from the left side. Sierra is back in AAA. And so the Cardinals now, with just Matt Carpenter and Greg Garcia from the left side, that's not the way it was really mapped out when this club was put together in the winter and in spring training.
When you think about it, Luke Voit batting cleanup here on the 4th of July. You didn't expect that. With Paul DeYoung at shortstop. Now, we had heard of these guys. We saw them in spring training. Voit was more off the radar than the others. We didn't see Voit in big league camp during the games.
I didn't see Alex Mejia.
Yeah.
I believe he came up for 1 game, but the pitchers we've seen and heard of, Luke Weaver, Mike Myers, but in spring training you're going to have a ton of pitchers.
Here's a 1-2 pitch to D. Gordon. John Mozeliak was asked recently about the trade of Adams, and he said, look, the way that we had constructed the team, he was not going to play here.
Right.
And we felt we needed to give him an opportunity. It's kind of a make or break point in his career. He's been a good player for us, but we just didn't see at that time where he was going to play.
Do we still call him Mo, or do we have to call him Mr. President?
Well, let's just hope he doesn't tweet.
What would you call him?
I'd say Mr. Mo is fine.
Mr. President Mo?
Presmo.
Okay.
2-2 the count with 2 outs and a runner at second base. The 2-2. Waved at it, struck him out. 3 strikeouts for Lance Lynn. The strikeout of D. Gordon. Miami strands a runner, and there's no score. BJC Healthcare difference makers. Lou Gehrig retired. 1939, Nolan Ryan was strikeout number 3,000. Dave Righetti, the no-hitter. Keith Hernandez hit for the cycle, and Albert Pujols in 2008 with home run number 300 down the left field line against, of all teams, the Chicago Cubs. It's now 600 and counting.
This one hits the foul pole. Albert had an incredible ability to keep balls fair down the line. So many great moments with Albert here. And I think about that Lou Gehrig moment and how much a part of the fabric of baseball that is. Everybody knows the luckiest man on the face of the earth speech given on the 4th of July.
And Garcia hit by the pitch. Richard Sandomir, longtime writer in New York, has come out with a new book that's supposed to be just fabulous called The Pride of the Yankees on Lou Gehrig.
That is the 9th hit by pitch for Urania, by far leading the Marlins. Not afraid to come inside. In that case, way inside.
So Garcia is aboard, filling in for Jed Jerka, who told us that he could have finished the game last night, but taken out precautionary with the cramping in the left leg.
Can he bunt left-handed?
There's strike one.
You don't have to worry about launch angle here, do you?
No, sir.
I like the fact that he's got some protective gear on his right arm. That's wise.
Here's the 0-1. Launch angle popped up.
I wouldn't say that was pretty. I believe there's some critiquing going on.
You saw there Pop Warner. He's one of the new coaches, the addition as he was brought up. Pop was a longtime player in the minor leagues. Cardinals went to him and said, look, you can continue to play. You're not going to make it to the big leagues. However, we think you can manage someday and certainly coach. And he was added to the staff of that time, Tony La Russa, back in 1999, and traveled with the club. George Kissel did that as well. Those two would travel with the St. Louis Cardinals, get a taste of the big leagues, what the preparation is like, the day-to-day, the travel. And he's been on those buses for a long time, and a good man, Pop Warner. Deadens it. Throw to second, and he holds on for the out.
Boy, that was a close play. A tough call, too, because you've got to watch, if you're the umpire, the slide, the catch, and the foot on the bag all at the same time. That's an easy one to miss. David Bell on the phone. Only get 30 seconds to decide. I think he's out.
I do, too.
It's a good call.
The Cardinals do as well, so they do not challenge.
Again, I don't want to be patronizing to umpires. I've always felt this way. And they're way better than we give them credit for. That is an incredibly difficult call to make with all of what's going on. And he made that clearly. Our second base umpire, Scott Berry, he was right. And I think replay has shown that umpires are right more than we think they are.
Agreed. Here's Matt Carpenter. Just saw the second base umpire, Scott Berry, looked out to Christian Yelich and moved for him. Now, a player can ask the umpire to move so that they can get a better look at what's happening at the plate.
Well, our angle, you can definitely show how the umpire can be in his way as far as being able to see the batter. One more look at that call at second base. The foot is above the bag, and the foot of the infielder is on the bag when he catches the ball before Garcia gets there. Terrific call.
See the umpire on the infield grass with a runner at first base.
Draw that straight line from Yelich to home plate, and you can see how the umpire moving over just a tad gives Yelich the view of Greg Garcia, and that may be the difference between him getting a good jump on a ball or not in center field.
3-0 here on Carpenter. Situation earlier this season in Washington with Daniel Murphy actually got into it with an umpire because the umpire refused to move. He said, wait a minute, I have the right to ask you to move. Can't see what's happening at the plate.
More important for Yelich to see Carpenter at the plate than it is to see the catcher. And the reason I believe that is you can tell by a swing. A hitter can tell on a swing whether he got all of it, whether he pulled off of it, whether he maybe hit it off the end of the bat. And that's the kind of visual that Yelich wants to be able to have in center field.
With 2 strikes, a shift on. Prado, the third baseman, on the right side. The 3-2. And he draws a walk. Second walk issued by Urania. And last night, Tommy Pham on base 5 times. That's the triple early on. He had a couple of walks as well. Second time in his career that he's reached base in all 5 plate appearances.
I was as impressed with a couple of the walks for Pham as even the hits, because they were pitches that were an inch off the plate. It is his ability to understand the zone at this point, I think, is part of his trajectory at the plate.
Strike 1 to Tommy Pham. He struck out looking first time up. He comes to the ballpark and he's playing with an edge. And I think other players are feeding off that too.
I've asked some people around the Cardinals whether that edge is a good thing. And I mean, I know what my answer would be, and the answer is an emphatic yes. And the reason is you'd rather steer a ship that's going than to try to light the match under somebody and get him going. Anybody that has employees knows what I'm talking about. You'd rather steer somebody with energy and passion and ability than try to motivate somebody who doesn't seem to care. And he certainly cares.
John Mozeliak telling me in spring training this is kind of a make or break season for Tommy Pham with his age, the options that are available for him. Did not have a very good spring, but boy, he's made up for it. Here's a 1-2. 2 balls and 2 strikes. The Cardinals will have Colton Wong go out on a rehab assignment, more than likely to Springfield, and then rejoin the club. Dexter Fowler dealing with the heel issue that he's had, so after the All-Star break, could be a much healthier club coming back. The 2-2. Got a piece of it.
It'll almost feel like making a trade, won't it? If the team continues to play well up until that point, and you add something else to it, I mean, that's a very positive development. If you can find a way to win without 2 of your key players, and then they come back. Now, it's a new mix. You're going to have to readjust the chemistry and find at-bats, but I think that's a positive.
And the second time that Pham is struck out. Brings in Steven Piscotty, flied out to left, and he's 0 for 1. I don't know if you feel the same way, but to me, Piscotty last week, maybe 2, has been taking better at bats.
Yeah.
Starting to see him drive the ball a little bit more, go deeper into counts.
Yeah, I think the best of the season is ahead for him. He had such a slow start in spring training. It's just adjusting to a kind of a new thought about staying back a little bit more and getting jammed. Just incredibly in spring training. He was way late on a lot of pitches and just didn't have the feel coming out of Florida.
And he looks at a ball. If the Cardinals can win today, they'd be 1 game below the 500 mark. 2 more with Miami after today's action. Then a weekend series with the Mets and the All-Star break. The 1-0 pitch. That's the pitch right there that you're talking about. 70s, 80s, 60s. I mean, that's a strike.
Pitcher'd be whining about that.
Oh yeah. But now it's a given.
Let's just say a veteran pitcher would be whining about it.
Here's a 2-0. Missouri Lottery Fox Tracks. Got to be quick.
Get all that?
The 2-1 pitch. The pickoff at second of Lynn. He's back in safely.
I'm not sure Gordon was in on that pickoff attempt. Seemed like that might have been a called pickoff attempt, and Gordon seemed a bit surprised by it. Or he went there and then didn't quite get to the bag. Maybe a little too early for Urania in terms of the timing. But I think there was a planned pickoff.
And Lynn's thinking, are you kidding me? The 2-1. Good example of where he's taking his lead. Many times you'll see a runner at second base take 2 steps back, then go towards third base. And think about it, when you have to make that turn around third, you want to come in at that angle. So take a step or 2 back more than likely. There it is. And then have the angle going in towards third base.
And Lance, of course, they're not worried about him stealing third. That's not why they're trying to pick him off.
And a strikeout of Piscotty. Rick Horton made a little history on the 4th of July pitching for the Cardinals. We'll talk about that when we come back. The Missouri Lottery Fox Tracks. Not 1 strike in the at-bat to Stephen Piscotty.
Or 5 of them.
Lewis. We're with the 49th Intelligence Squadron at Offutt Air Force Base, Nebraska. representing the 655th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group. Happy Independence Day and
Go Cardinals!
This one's for you. Will be Friday here on Fox Sports Midwest. Looking forward to that. Many military personnel are here today as we check in with Jim Hayes. Jimmy.
And Luke Weaver was putting together a pretty impressive season in Memphis as a starter. 7-1, 1.93 ERA. Weaver was brought up yesterday, went right to the bullpen, throwing a scoreless inning last night. Weaver says the move to the pen won't be a huge adjustment. He told me, I'll just try to mold into it. The key is finding a routine that works for me. Weaver had dealt with back spasms and stiffness during spring training this season, and also at Memphis. He told me he's hoping that's behind him. He says he has a new training program that he does every day. He told me if you forget about it when the back feels good, you're almost inviting a setback. And then Mike Matheny says they brought up Weaver and they plan to use him a lot. They don't want him sitting around in the bullpen.
We'll see how he makes that adjustment to the pen. Good example last night was just trying to get loose as opposed to being a starter and what you do as a reliever.
Well, that's going to have ramifications on his back, but also on his arm. How do you throw? How do you bounce back? Is he ready to pitch today? Can he throw an inning today? It's just not something he's used to doing. And, you know, he struggled some here yesterday. He did have a scoreless inning, but just seemed a little bit out of sorts here yesterday. He had a very good changeup, 95 fastball, but, you know, maybe might take him an appearance or two before he starts to settle in the bullpen.
So 3-0 the count on Stanton. Low strike, 3-1. That's hit out of play. Stanton struck out, part of a double play, strike him out, throw him out back in the first inning.
Like Jack Clark back in the day, or Richie Allen, every time he swings the bat, you hold your breath.
Yeah.
Just not sure what might happen.
(3-2) is a foul ball. Marlins with a couple of hits. Cardinals still looking for their first base hit here on the 4th of July. And the 3-2. Stanton fouls it back. Pitch number 8 of the at-bat. He saw 5 pitches in his first plate appearance. And a fly ball hit out to shallow right. And it drops in for a hit. Piscotty playing so deep in right field, throws behind, and Stanton is safe at first in his first base hit in this series.
Well, you pointed that out earlier. He is playing extremely deep. I'm not sure he may have had a chance at that had he read it well and been playing shallow. Here's the jam shot, hit the other way, and Piscotty just now entering the picture. He's almost at the warning track. Still a good 20 feet away from him is where the ball dropped. Probably wouldn't have had a shot at it. You have to respect the power of Stanton.
Well, I mentioned the 4th of July. You're part of a little history in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I actually just found this out recently on the 4th of July doubleheader in 1984. That was the last scheduled holiday doubleheader in baseball history. The Cardinals played the Giants at Old Candlestick Park. And I've told the story before. Whitey had me start the morning game. I believe it started at 10:30. I'm not sure the exact starting time, but he started me because he said I'd be the only pitcher who was awake at that time. He actually said that broadly and unashamedly.
The only one awake at 10:30 on the West Coast. The Cardinal team.
Apparently.
And they started early because of fireworks, right?
Correct. So we had and it was a schedule, and that's the key. I mean, there are other doubleheaders on 4th of July, but not scheduled.
And a high fly ball lifted out to left. Grichuk makes the catch. There's one away. July 8th, your chance to complete the final out bobblehead series. That day, 30,000 fans 16 and older receive a Tim McCarver bobblehead commemorating the final out of the 1967 World Series, courtesy of AT&T. And get your tickets at cardinals.com/promotions.
My understanding is that Tim McCarver hit that famous grand slam home run that ended up as a 3-run single on July 4th.
That's right. One out, and here is Marcell Ozuna. Fly to center, first time up. Well, for this homestand, they have cut the arch into the grass, the outfield grass. I know fans enjoy that. They like seeing that.
You bet they do. You and I hear about it when it's not gone.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure Bill Finley does, too.
Popped up. Molina will give it a look, and it's out of play. Some history on the 4th of July concerning the St. Louis Cardinals. So there was, they played a doubleheader every year between 1927 and 1950. 205 games on the 4th of July in the Cardinals' history. Pretty good crowd here today. One ball and one strike. Take in the ball game and then head to fair St. Louis Forest Park.
Chance to meet Shea Mooney of Dan and Shea today down at the Cardinal dugout. He'll be performing, or they will be, and his whole family, extraordinary Cardinal fans. Met his mom from Arkansas.
Double play ball to Young, flips to Carpenter. Double play. 6-4-3 in the second double play. Turned by the Cardinals this afternoon. Still looking for their first hit. There's no score. Of the summer hits South Beach. Baseball's biggest stars take the field. The Major League Baseball All-Star Game, July 11th, and it's only on Fox. When I was a kid, I would never, ever miss watching the All-Star Game. Before interleague play, so a chance to see the American League players. I love the white shoes that they'd wear during the All-Star Game. And you know, not many games back then on TV, so a chance to see your favorite players. Never missed it.
One that sticks out to me is Fred Lynn's great game playing with the Angels at the time. I'm not sure what year that was. I believe he had 2 home runs in the game.
I think of Bo Jackson with Ronald Reagan in the booth with Vin Scully. Tony La Russa, I actually talked to him about this, and he was kind of ahead of his time in a lot of different ways in looking at the game and video and analytics. He was doing some of that before it was quote unquote analytics and shifting and how they would shade. But he said, you know, Bo Jackson was the kind of guy he wanted to put at the top of the lineup for damage. Well, he did damage with a long home run to center. Voit, fair ball that's hit to third. Martin Prado, and he makes the play. Dave Parker's famous throw in right field.
Pete Rose scoring at home plate with Ray Fosse. I also remember, I mean, I'm going to say the one that sticks out the most to me sticks out for a different reason. The first time during the All-Star break when I had a chance to watch a current teammate play in the All-Star game. That was an absolute thrill. Willie McGee was in the All-Star game in '84, and it was just so much fun. Of course, Ozzie was there, but I just remember Willie batting and thinking, just great to be connected to him and be his teammate.
Here's Yadier Molina with one out. Molina with a high fly ball into right center. Yelich is over and makes the catch. 2 quick outs here in the home half of the fourth. Well, for certain players, I guess a guy like Yadier Molina, it's old hat, but for others that make that first appearance, what a thrill it must be.
Yeah, I bet it's not exactly old hat even for Yadi. I think he's clearly honored, and I mean, your career is pretty short. And even if you play a long time, it's still a short time compared to the rest of your life. So I think for him to get honored again by his peers especially, I'm sure he's very thankful. And, of course, Carlos, well-deserving as well.
Talk to some players, and they say now the red carpet parade is something that is very special, which has been added to the All-Star game. And that particular city, there's a little route that they'll take to the ballpark, and they're in trucks and convertibles and waving to the fans. Special. 1-2 the count.
Grichuk has the ability to untie this quickly. You know, he is 2 for his last 18, but there have been some good at-bats in there. He's not far off.
The 2-2. From 0-2 to a full count.
That's a pitch that Grichuk would have swung at a year ago 98% of the time. Slider just off the plate.
Got him. So he struck him out. Urania has 5 here this afternoon. We head to inning number 5, and there's no score. Way to spend the fourth. Little time here at the ballpark with family. Cardinals baseball. That guy's ready. He's got the eye black.
Oh, you bet. I love that. That's
He
a
is
serious fan right there. That is, he's prepared.
He's got the look of a pro, doesn't he?
He does.
Well pitched ball game so far on both sides. And a strike to Justin Bour. The Kubota power stats with Bour at the plate. Bellinger, Stanton, and Bour. Blackmon home runs this season. And all participants in the home run derby. A lot of times it's the age-old debate. Is it the best player or just the best player on a particular team that's winning that gets the MVP? But the first half of the regular season, Bellinger might be the MVP and the Rookie of the Year.
Blackmon in the derby as well has been one of the league's best players. He certainly was when the Cardinals saw him in Denver. Wow, was he good.
He's been good against the Cardinals, it seems like, every time we see them. Here's a 1-2. Freddie Lynn and Ichiro won the MVP and Rookie of the Year. The game I think that you were thinking of was Atlee Hammaker on the mound.
Yep, 1983.
That's right, the All-Star game. The 2-2. Fouled back. All-Star game was here in 2009. Cardinals were well represented. I thought one of the best stories from the Cardinals' perspective was Ryan Franklin. Recreated himself as a closer, was very good. Grew up a Cardinal fan, now working in the Cardinals front office, but he was an all-star that year.
The All-Star game, another memory I have is, and certainly wasn't there, but the All-Star game that was held at Busch Stadium 2 early on in, may have been late 60s somewhere, but that's the famous saying that Casey Stengel, who'd not seen the field, said that this stadium really holds the heat well.
Right. The leadoff walk.
I believe that was a 1-0 game. I'm also pretty sure Ron Hunt had a big hit in that game, maybe in the 10th inning.
Ron Hunt lives in this area, and for the longest time he was the all-time leader in hit by pitch.
National League won that game 2-1 in 10 innings.
Here's Martin Prado. You see the number 16 on the chest of the Miami Marlins. Remember Jose Fernandez, who lost his life in a boating accident. And a franchise that's still trying to bounce back. It's one of the reasons that they thought Prado needed to come back. A team leader, a veteran, and a presence in their clubhouse. Terrible loss for the franchise, terrible loss for baseball. Here's a 1-1. I had not seen in spring training, my years going down to Jupiter, a player that signed or took more pictures than Jose Fernandez. Yeah. He would pitch his 4 or 5 innings and then slowly walk down the left field line towards their complex and stop at just about everybody, especially the young fans. Sign a ball, sign a picture, take a picture. Prado with a fly ball into right, backing up Piscotty. He'll make the catch, and that's out number 1 near the top of 5. While the season is heating up, you can cool down. New frozen beverages at McDonald's, 3 flavors: Coca-Cola, wild cherry, blue raspberry. Stay cool this summer. Frozen drinks at McDonald's. Got the chance to interview Jose Fernandez on a number of occasions, and always gracious, was excited to be there, and in many ways the face of that franchise. The ballpark located in Little Havana, so many of those that were born and raised in Cuba living in that area Jose Fernandez defected from Cuba.
Childhood friend of Aledmys Diaz for the Cardinals.
They would average, Rick, about 5,000 to 7,000 more fans per game when he would make a start.
And he wouldn't lose at home.
His first loss at home ever was against the Cardinals.
Correct.
JT Riddle. Can be an enigma sometimes trying to figure out how to get him out.
I get that.
One and two the count.
Is that a little wordplay you're disseminating there?
No, I just, sometimes it's an enigma trying to figure out how to get him out. I don't know what you're referring to. Right now there's people throwing things at their TV. I don't blame them. Foul ball.
Not for the first time. How foul is it? Half a foot.
Left-handed batter Luke Voigt playing behind Justin Bour.
Well, Bour does have a stolen base, you know. Yeah.
And a strikeout of Riddle. Justin Bour, the runner at first base. Let's get a look at the Chevy Fox tracks.
Is it a strike? We'll say yes.
So Bour goes at 265 pounds. His first stolen base was off of Jeff Mathis,
former teammate
and buddy and friend, and he actually got the base after the game, and he said, "Would you please sign this for me? It's my first stolen base." Mathis wrote the following inscription: "Congrats on your first stolen base since Little League. It's hard to make a throw with the ground shaking. Your friend Jeff Mathis."
Well, that's what he gets for asking him to sign the base.
And you were telling me a story about Darryl Porter.
Darryl Porter, yeah. Darryl Porter hit with the bases loaded in Cincinnati. Ron Robertson, major league debut. First strikeout was against Darryl Porter with the bases loaded in the ninth. And literally 10 minutes after the game, one of the clubhouse guys came over and asked Darryl. He wanted Darryl to sign it. And we're actually eating dinner at the spread in the clubhouse. Darryl looked up, he signed it dutifully, sent it back over. The next day, he had a home run off of Ron Robertson and sent a baseball over and asked him to sign it.
That's great.
So be careful.
And Darryl was kind of iffy about the whole thing,
well,
right?
Darryl was such a sweet guy. I remember him actually asking me, he said, "Should I have done that? That's kind of mean, isn't it?" I said, "Well," of course, I was stirring the pot a little and said, "Well, he kind of asked for it, don't you think?"
Absolutely.
He said, "Yeah, but I don't think that was right for me to do
Turnabout
that."
fair play, man.
Really a wonderful man, wonderful teammate.
It's a ball and two strikes. Bour is running, and a swing and a miss. And a strikeout of A.J. Ellis. Congrats on your first stolen base since Little League. It's hard to make a throw with the ground shaking. Thanks a lot. pitch ball game on both sides.
Outstanding. Really, both pitchers have done their job. Urena and Lance Lynn. They've been solid. Urena has had a terrific slider. He's had a couple of caught lookings as well. Urena staying on the corners, but so's Lance Lynn. I think that's been the secret for Lynn. Everything out of the middle of the plate. He has been in command throughout. Both of them have. And they are our State Farm perfect pair. No hits allowed for Urena, just 3 for Lance Lynn, and 10 strikeouts between them.
Just playing James Brown and living in America, and I miss Apollo Creed.
I'm with you.
Von Drago was a tough customer back then for various reasons.
Thought about those movies when we were in Philadelphia. Yeah.
Here's Paul DeYoung. Well, the Marlins do have a no-hitter thrown this year by tomorrow's starter. Edinson Volquez did that. We paired up with Mike Leake. And there's the first base hit. Did I jinx it?
Didn't take 5 seconds.
Maybe I did. I don't know. You know, I'm a big believer in that. We really do control a lot what happens down there on the field. A lot.
Well, I'm often hearing about that, and my comment would be if I had that kind of power, I would use it for more important things.
So base hit for Paul DeYoung, the first Cardinal hit. Here's Greg Garcia, hit by a pitch, his first time up. We did see the power of the cowboy hat last night.
And then you took it off, and we had a bad inning. Marlins got back in it. I want to see you in that one, Dan.
And a strike to Garcia. The strikeout that ended the top of 5 was number 409 in the career of Lance Lynn here at Busch Stadium. And he moved ahead of Jaime Garcia to second place on that list.
Hit and run possibility with Garcia at the plate. There is room on the right side of the infield.
And the 1-1. Taken high, 2 balls and 1 strike.
And this would be a good count for it. 2-1, 2-0, 1-0. Best counts for a hit and run.
And the 2-1 is hit out to deep right field. Stanton is back at the wall, and it's gone! Greg Garcia, his second home run. And it's 2-0 Cardinals.
Let's go!
2-1 counts, a good count for a hit and run, and a decent count for a home run. Ball in the middle of the plate and up, and that's what we were talking about. Urena has not been in the middle of the plate, but he was in that delivery, and Garcia jumped on it.
Lance Lynn. It's it out of play. Stanton last night nearly robbed Molina of what would have been a potential grand slam. Hit off the top of the wall, and he almost got that one too.
Good effort.
Here's a 1-1.
So we don't believe in rallies, Dan, but you mentioned, or jinxes, but you mentioned that the no-hitter was going, then there was a base hit, then you put on the sock that was given here at the ballpark, and Garcia hit a home run.
I put the sock on my right arm. I've been having some issues holding my microphone, so it's more of a compression sleeve.
Looks good.
And Lynn hits it off the end of the bat, slowly to short. And now it's a rally sock slash sleeve.
Let's go with it.
The hat last night, and now the rally sleeve.
Well, we do understand that many fans have things just like this in their homes when they're watching games, whether it's a certain food they eat or how they position the TV. There's the sleeve. And it did nice work. Well modeled.
Thank you. The pitch taken low by Matt Carpenter. Here's a 1-0. I mean, you never know. I mean, when you grab that microphone and just the pain that sometimes runs up the elbow.
It's heavy. Yeah.
The tricep area may have had a strain.
Is it about half a pound? I mean, it's heavy.
Physically taxing job. No question about it, to stand up here and hold that microphone. Can you believe they pay us to do this? 371 feet off the bat of Greg Garcia. That's pulled foul. You really ought to try it though, Rick. I know you've had issues with your arm that does not straighten out anymore. It's very comfortable, lightweight.
I'm not sure I need the compression because I don't really have any feeling in the arm anyway. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter.
Here's a 2-2. It's sharply right side and a base hit. This Friday, 30,000 fans 16 and older can beat the Heat in style with the help of a one-of-a-kind Cardinals Performance t-shirt courtesy of Apple Vacations. And get yours this Friday. That's July 7th. The Cards and the Mets. Tickets at cardinals.com/promotions.
I guess the Marlins needed 4 guys on the right side of the infield. Carpenter found a space, even against the shift. You hit a ball hard, you're going to find some holes.
That's why we do talk about the exit velocity. Makes sense. The harder you hit it, it's going to be tougher to field that ball.
Hit the ball hard or get jammed or hit it off the end of the bat. It was just more of a descriptive way to describe to talk about whether a guy was centering the ball or not. But now we use exit velocity, but it's really the same thing. You like numbers, you take the number. If you want to just know, yep, that ball was smoked, and take our word for it, without a number, that works too.
Tommy Pham 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts. Hear it all the time. Baseball, a game of inches.
Stanton misses the home run by literally inches. D. Gordon tries to take a hit away from Matt Carpenter and just misses it. Nice when things start to flow your way, and that's really how it's been for the Cardinals in the last 9 games. They've won 7 of their last 9. They were in the other 2, and it's been a different Cardinal team. There's no question about it in the last week and a half.
Lights are on now here at Busch Stadium. Overcast skies here on the 4th of July. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And Pham strikes out for the 3rd time. That's 6 today for Urena. It was great to see, and it does give maybe fans an inside look at the Cardinals. The reaction of the teammates for Greg Garcia when he goes into the dugout. He is as well liked as anybody on this team. very, very popular player. Two outs and a runner at first for Stephen Piscotty. 0 for 2. Greg just shows up, does his job. Always in a good mood, smile on his face, a lot of energy. And the 0-1 pitch. 0-2.
It's a misunderstanding to think that all players are necessarily alike and have to be the same in terms of their personality. And in fact, all players understand that, you know, they come from different countries, they have different backgrounds, different music tastes, different everything. But when you're competing together, you just find ways to get along, like each other, and be likable. And if you're not, it's hard to stay in this game because you get found out. Players don't want to have anything to do with you, and normally that gets worked out of players by the time they get to the big leagues. They understand that's part of the deal. So whether you're from California or South Georgia, Puerto Rico, or even New York.
Where are you from?
New York.
Okay. And he waves at it, and a strikeout of Stephen Piscotty. That's 7 for Urania, but a 2-run homer by Greg Garcia, his second of the year. First was in Colorado, and now his first here at home. A 2-0 St. Louis lead. Ball is brought to you by your local St. Louis area Volkswagen dealers. By Academy Sports and Outdoors, for all for less. And brought to you by USAA Insurance, banking and investments tailored for the military community. Greg Garcia, 2-run homer, 2-0 lead for the Cardinals as we move to the top of the 6th. Ichiro Suzuki. Amazing player. When Ichiro set the all-time single season hits record, formerly owned by George Sisler, in 2009 he came to St. Louis for the All-Star game, and he actually went and visited that gravesite to pay his respects. Catch made by Garcia. Our Budweiser What's on Tap is Lynn now pitching into the 6th. And tomorrow night it's Mike Lake, and we're on the air at 6:30.
Volk has been one of the more consistent starters in this rotation that's not been very consistent. I, for one, am glad to see Urania out of this game. Also a bit surprised to see the number 96 next to him in terms of pitches thrown in just 5 innings.
He had 7 strikeouts, which did tie his career high. We're back to the top of the lineup, and D. Gordon.
A couple of walks. He did have a hit by pitch, but just not really a lot against him. But Cardinals worked the count deep enough, often enough, to get him out after 5.
Steckenrider just called up. Right-hander getting loose in their pen. Gordon pushing it up the third base line, but foul.
It's one of the things I always communicate to people the best I can when you're around fans or at an event, that just when you're at the ballpark, pay attention to things like watching Ichiro play and realize that it's a guy that is I mean, just one of the game's best, and be a Hall of Famer, obviously. And just getting a chance to watch him play, and the oldest player in the game, looking so fit and doing everything right, and really a guy that Don Mattingly and the coaches point to as a guy that, you know, this is how we want you to work. Be like him. And that's the kind of thing you can miss if you're not paying attention at the ballpark. You follow the ball and you know certainly the score and the scoreboard and all the fun things here, but watching Yadier Molina catch every day, we're not going to watch that forever. So enjoy it while you can.
Yep. Ichiro has said he'd like to play until he is 50, if possible. The 2-2. It was funny that the Cardinals said, well, we have re-upped Yadier Molina right before that first pitch Sunday Night Baseball to start the season. I was thinking to myself, well, did you lock him up forever? I mean, he's the kind of guy that wants to continue to play, barring injury. The 2-2. I mean, who's to say that after 3 years he says, well, I've had enough? And he's the kind of player, iconic, that you want to keep in that Cardinal uniform for his entire career. But it's a delicate situation when you have the #1 catching prospect in baseball coming through your system. And that's Carson Kelly, who's had a good year, and he's an all-star at AAA. Swing and a miss and a strikeout. Or did he? I'm going to say he just got a piece.
Thought Yadi was able to hold on to that. Apparently not. Let's see what happens after he tips it. Does it hit the dirt? Yes, it does.
I'm not sure he tipped it. Gordon has single to center field, also struck out. Puts it in play down the left field line, and it is a ground rule double. So fair ball, hops over that sidewall, and a ground rule double.
Did we say this is a game of inches? Went for the Cardinals, and by inches, that ball is fair.
The previous pitch, umpire may have heard the dirt, not the bat. Yeah, I didn't think he got a piece of it. Did not have much of an argument from Yadier Molina, and now the tying run comes to the plate. Stan with 21 home runs. He is struck out and has a bloop base hit into right. They start to scurry now in the Cardinals bullpen. Pitch count at 85. Here's a 1-0.
Urania got behind Greg Garcia, and that became a problem for him because he went right down the middle of the plate. I don't think Lance Lynn will make that mistake with Stanton at the plate. I think he'll still work for a corner. Yadi setting up outside.
There's Tyler Lyons. And Brebbia will join him. Yelich on deck. And a 3-0, and you know he's got the green light. 3-1.
Well, if he doesn't get a green light, no one does.
Three and two. Really challenged Stanton with the fastball here last night and again today.
And he really pulled off that last delivery too, and you talked about him being closed, and that's why, because he's fighting that. He's fighting pulling off the pitch that's away. He's trying to stay closed as long as he can.
Three-two pitch, fouled back. Stan with only 2 home runs at this ballpark. He'd love to make it 3. 3-2 pitch by Lance Lynn. Stanton hits a rocket, knocked down by Carpenter, and that may have saved a run. As Voit had to stretch for it, he's off the bag. A blistering line drive off the bat of Giancarlo Stanton. Wow. .118 miles per hour off his bat.
A lot happening on that play. Wow, that ball was crushed. And give Matt Carpenter an error, which doesn't seem fair in one way, but it's not because he knocked it down, it's because he throws it away. He had all kinds of time, maybe a little more time, could have stepped and thrown, but he threw flat-footed. There's the knocking the ball down. That forces Gordon to come back, and then the throw is rushed just a bit. Not a lot, but just a bit. Again, the flat-footed throw, watch, not a lot of stepping towards the bag, and then Luke Voit has to make a nice play to keep Gordon from going to third. Gordon, like a yo-yo. He did a lot of work for going nowhere.
So runners at first and second, brings in Yelich, who is grounded to short, also flied out to left. Marlins have been working with Yelich to try to lay the bat down and not have him cock his hands going forward towards the pitcher as much, and that's what you're seeing at times. Lazy fly ball to left where he can't have the bat catch up through the zone. Normally his hands and the bat more towards the pitcher, the top hand in particular, to give that angle of the bat, the top of it going towards Lance Lynn.
Been some hitters that have been successful being able to do that over the years. Alan Craig, one that comes to mind. Julio Franco, another. And what they would do is point the bat head towards the pitcher. The bat's up, but the bat head's towards the pitcher, which means you're going to have to make, you're going to be very quick with your hands. You'll be vulnerable to the pitch inside.
That's where the Cardinals have been pitching him to.
It really forces you to make an adjustment. You're going to have to bring the bat back anyway, so it's just a timing issue.
Here's a 2-0 pitch to Yelich. They also talk about at times you can get into a little bit of a hitch with that as well. Bring it back, hands drop, and you uppercut with the swing.
Well, you can't keep your hands there, so that's where the hitch comes from. You feel like you have to move them at the last second, and that movement sometimes makes you too slow to the ball. So many guys throwing 95, that just doesn't last forever.
3-1.
Hitting's tough. I mean, it just is. The guys that make it look so easy, the hand-eye coordination, the vision, bat speed.
Cardinals have turned 2 double plays in this game. A 3-1 pitch to Yelich. Get out of play.
He was late on that.
Yeah. We have the lefty Lions getting loose, you would have to assume, for Justin Bour, and maybe Brebbia for Ozuna, who's on deck. We'll see. Pitch count at 96 for Lynn. 3-2. Fly ball lifted out to left center. Pham going back near the wall, looks up, and it's gone. Yelich, a 3-run homer, and the Marlins have their first lead.
Yelich makes that error hurt. There's the hands, the little bit of hitch you're talking about. He squares that one up, hits it the other way with authority.
An inning in which things just have not gone the Cardinals' way. You go back to the Gordon at bat, what may have been strike 3 and a ball that hit the dirt. Not sure if it hit his bat. Then the near double play that was in and out of the glove of Carpenter, the wide throw, and now the home run by Yelich.
Had the Gordon hit that just barely hit inside the third base line.
That has been the issue this year for Lance Lynn. Home runs.
That was home run number 20, which is a career high, and we are only on the 4th of July, just barely into the second half of the season. But you'd also say that's the trend in baseball beyond just Lance Lynn, but he's a little ahead of the curve on that.
And a base hit out to left. That may be it for Lynn, with the lefty coming up and a lefty loose in Tyler Lyons. One out single by Marcell Ozuna, his first hit in this game, and here comes Mike Matheny.
Seems like the Marlins don't hit, and then they all hit at the same time.
Yeah.
That's what happened here last night.
So Lyons will face Justin Bour. And that'll be it for Lance Lynn. You can stream them live on your mobile device with Fox Sports Go. Download the app, take Fox Sports Midwest and Cardinals baseball with you wherever you go. A runner at first, and one out here in the top of the 6th. 3-2 Marlins, and Tyler Lyons comes into the bullpen to face Justin Bour.
Tyler has had a spectacular breaking ball of late, and he seems to have found that home in the bullpen. He's been a bit of an enigma in some ways. You're just not really sure whether he's a starter or a reliever. That's been the case in his career, and kind of envision him being able to do both. but his future may be as a reliever, a lefty specialist, and maybe even more than that, because his breaking ball when right is very, very tough to square up, even for right-handed.
So here is Bohr with 1 out and a runner at first in Ozuna. There's no stolen bases this year. Lions pitched in the 7th inning last night. Got a couple of strikeouts, then walked 2 back-to-back and a ground out to get out of the inning. He faced Justin Bohr and was ahead, no balls, 2 strikes last night, then walked him. There's that breaking ball taken low. Lynn, the 6th Cardinals pitcher to allow 20 or more home runs prior to the All-Star break. The first to do that since 2006 and Andy Bennis. Did that in 2000, 01. Marquis the last to do it, 06. Matt Morris had done it, Darryl Kyle, Brett Tomko, so pretty good names on that list. 2 balls, 1 strike on Bohr. Popped up left side, going back. Garcia calling for it, foul territory, makes the catch. Martin Prado is 0 for 2. Urania a chance to win this game depending on the bullpen of Miami. He went 5 innings, 2 runs on 3 hits, did not allow a hit until the 5th. Struck out 7, tied his career high, walked 2, and gave up the home run to Greg Garcia.
Been a strange inning. You mentioned some of the details from the Cardinals' point of view. Line drive that was crushed by Stanton. You'd say, well, that probably should have been a hit anyway, but it almost was a double play and became an error at the end of it, which prolonged the inning. Just interesting, and it's just amazing part of this game, Dan. Adam Wainwright yesterday, Lance Lynn cruising, both of them cruising right along, and all of a sudden the Marlins show up in force.
One ball and 1 strike. The 1-1. Buckled the knees of a very good right-handed batter in Prado with that breaking ball.
General rule of thumb is the breaking ball coming into a right-hander is going to be easier for him to see, which is why we talk about the lefty-lefty matchup so much, or righty-righty. But even though it is coming in towards a right-hander, it has such a sharp break to it, it can still be effective.
1-2 is out to left. Grichuk can't cut it off. It's off the wall. They'll hold up Ozuna, and that'll be a double for Martin Prado. Chevy Fox Tracks.
And this is the curveball coming into the right-handed batter, but it's up in the zone. It was a hanger. So you see it. It's coming towards you. Well played by Grichuk and left, because Ozuna was planning on scoring. Grichuk got to it quickly. I've been really impressed, Dan, with the Cardinals' outfield play defensively in the last week and a half. They are on another level as far as urgency and getting the ball back into the infield. Everything they're doing is quicker.
2 outs, 2 on. The batter is JT Riddle. The tough lefty, you'd think about pinch hitting, but you do that with the one that could play shortstop. That's Dietrich, but he hits from the left side. You have Tyler Moore and also JT Realmuto on the bench. 0-2. So you carry that extra reliever, which both teams are doing, and it limits what you can do coming off the bench. And the 0-2. Line drive and a base hit into right field. One run is in. The throw by Piscotty is cut off by Voit. And the Marlins add to their lead.
Boy, that's a backbreaker right there.
And it's a 5-2 Miami lead.
Another big inning for the Marlins. Another breaking pitch that hangs. Well, that's the reality of coming in out of the bullpen, Dan. You're going to throw 10 to 15 pitches and you can't make any mistakes. And Tyler's made 2. There's not a lot of margin for error.
A.J. Ellis, 9th man to come to the dish here for Miami in this 6th inning. For 2 with a pop out and a strikeout. Outfield very shallow for the Cardinals. And it's 0-2. Well, with everything that's transpired here, you think about the Marlins and their bullpen. They've had to go to this bullpen a ton. As starters don't get very deep, we'll see how sharp they can be to try to finish this game off.
We mentioned yesterday their numbers are pretty good. They've just worked a lot.
Here's the 0-2. Instead, a check on the runner at first. Check swing did not go. Runner stays put at the bag at first. And the 1-2 misses down and in. Yelich, a 3-run homer that was off of Lance Lynn, and the base hit by Ozuna. Chase Lynn. Lyons came in, he got Bohr. Then Prado the double in left, and on an 0-2 pitch, a base hit into right by Riddle, and a strikeout for Lyons. Big inning for the Marlins, their first lead in this series.
Of inches. Earlier it went the Cardinals' way. This way it doesn't. Does Gordon actually foul tip that ball or not? Maybe yes, maybe no, but he gets another life. Hits the left field line. There's a break, and here's another break as this ball is knocked down by Carpenter. Safe at first, safe at second. Things just not going the Cardinals' way in a 5-run inning. And Christian Yelich, the big home run. This one barely gets out of the ballpark in deep left center field. And the Marlins put a hurting on the Cardinals in the top of the 6th inning. 5-2 Marlins, as St. Louis will have Voit, Molina, and Grichuk in the bottom of the 6th.
Well, we mentioned that Jeff Locke was designated for assignment. Drew Steckenrider from Atlanta, Georgia, recalled, 26-year-old and a right-hander, to face Luke Voit. And a fastball at 95. Making his 3rd stint with Miami. And there's a base hit for Luke Voit. I got a feeling Luke Voit is going to be a fan favorite in a short amount of time.
The feeling already is. They were chanting Luke here last night when he hit his first major league home run. And I think it's not just his ability, but it's been his attitude. He's just been very, very happy, and it's showing.
Here's Yadier Molina. Molina is 0 for 2. Steckenrider, selected by Miami, 8th round of the 2012 draft. He was the Marlins minor league pitcher of the month in May. 0-2. The chance of Yadier at the ballpark. Molina with a fly ball. Right field. Stanton calling off Yelich to make the catch. The 4th of 6 Academy Sports and Outdoors Autograph Nights is Friday, July 7th. That's this Friday. 2 current players will sign autographs for fans 15 and under in the Ford Plaza from 5:45 to 6:15. 2 former Cardinals will sign for fans of all ages from 6:15 to 7. For details, visit cardinals.com/promotions. Randal Grichuk has walked and he has struck out. The fastball fouled back at 96. We've got Whitgren, Ramos, Barraclaw, all hard throwers. Here's the 0-1. Now 0-2. Wherever you may be, we hope you're enjoying Cardinals baseball here on the 4th of July. The 0-2 went up the ladder and he struck him out. Cardinals in this lineup today with 8 strikeouts. Take a look at the Chevy Fox tracks.
Yeah, this is not a good at-bat for Grichuk. That's a pitch not close to the zone, and that's one he just didn't recognize very well. Good fastball hitter, but that was not a fastball that was hittable.
The world knows the slider has been the pitch that he has struggled with, and he got 3 fastballs in that at bat. You just wonder a little bit, are you thinking, you know, you get 2 strikes, you're trying to protect. Off the bat of DeYoung, and a high fly ball lifted into shallow right center. And the center fielder Yelich with the catch. That ball goes to Martin Prado, the captain of this team. It's 5-2. St. Louis Cardinals. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. 5-2 our score, top of the 7th here on the 4th of July from Busch Stadium in St. Louis. And our Chevy call to the pen takes us to John Brebbia.
Like what we've seen from John Brebbia, slider, fastball, 95, tops out at, but the slider has been a really good pitch for him. The numbers are good. Game number 14, I would like to have seen him more than we've seen him in the past couple of weeks.
Another one of those very good stories of a young man that's persevered in the game of baseball. A couple of different stints in independent ball just to get a look. Former 30th round pick of the Yankees, was lost in their system, really lost in the game and off the radar for many, and has fought his way back to relevance and pitching here in the big leagues. Tyler Moore will be the pinch hitter. And there's strike one. Reminder that we're on the air tomorrow at 6:30. And then Thursday it is a day game. Michael Wacha and Tom Kohler on Thursday. Mike Leake, Edinson Volquez tomorrow. There's that slider and a fly ball lifted into shallow right. And there's one away.
Got a nice tilt to it, doesn't it?
Sure does.
A lot of downward action to it. You know, the slider is, I'm not sure that's a very good description of the word, just the word itself, slider, because it does more than slide across the plate. It really is a breaking ball that goes both down and away from a right-handed batter, and the down part's critical. You want to break on two planes.
Top of the lineup, and D. Gordon. Fastball in strike one.
He doesn't get scared either, Brebbia. Just attacks the zone and not too worried about the name or the number on the back of the other player, which can be a problem when you get to the big leagues. Get a little overwhelmed, the game gets a little too fast for you.
Gordon started that rally against Lance Lynn in the 6th inning. The ground rule double to left and came around to score in the 3-run homer by Yelich. Here's a 1-2 and a base hit out to left. Brings in Stanton with one out.
4 hits in the series now for Gordon. Had a good feeling in the first inning when Stanton struck out and Gordon was caught stealing. You just thought, well, this is going to be a Cardinal day. And it was up until the top of the 6th.
Still might be.
Still might be.
1 out runner at first. And the first pitch to Giancarlo Stanton. So you go from independent baseball to facing one of the premier home run hitters in Major League Baseball. Yadi may have signaled for a throw over to first base and didn't quite get that, did he?
Well, communication's over.
The Cardinals have turned 2 double plays. One was Stanton at the plate. Strike him out, throw him out variety that Rick was just talking about. Cardinals turned a double play off the bat of Ozuna in the 4th inning. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Good slider again. Be interesting we see this young man in 10 years? Is he still wearing a Miami uniform? One of the richest and longest contracts in the history of the sport. Is it a contract you could move if you wanted to?
Some would say, is it a franchise you could move if you want to?
Here's the 0-2. And time is called. That drive you crazy as a pitcher, seeing time called like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to keep going with your motion, and I think the thing that frustrates you is you have in your mind, I'm throwing a pitch that I think he doesn't know I'm getting ready to throw, and you don't want to give away that you were going to throw a fastball or a slider.
Now Stan, if he wanted to, could opt out after the 2020 season. The question would be, though, why? It's a backloaded deal. One and two the count. Gordon leaning at first base. He wants to go. Now going back to the bag, and it's a base hit into right. On his way to third, and Piscotty no throw. Runners at the corners. Looked like he wanted to steal, but he winds up at third anyway.
Well, it just shows how fast Gordon is. He's going back to the bag, almost at the bag, and a single to right field, and he still makes it first to third. He gets to the bag the same time Piscotty gets the ball, which is a pretty good indication, a guy with speed, that he's going to be able to make it. Of course, it depends on how deep Piscotty is when he catches it, but I think a reasonable move for Gordon to keep going. And it's just interesting how the Marlins just seem to hit in bunches.
Infield is drawn in, and a strike to Yelich. 3-run homer back in the 6th inning off of Lance Lynn, the 20th that he's allowed this season. The 0-1 pitch. Here's a 1-1. Yelich hits it to short. Play at the plate. And they've got Gordon in a rundown. This could be fun. He's spinning and out.
Not easily.
The ultimate hot box with D. Gordon.
Well, every player that's playing in the big leagues played this game when you were a kid, and it was fun. You're in the middle. He's trying to signal Stanton to go to third. He eludes Garcia, and he's got to make a quick throw, and just barely is able to get him at third. That is not simple.
Believe the home plate umpire ruled that he was out at that point, out of the baseline. That's his call. Third base umpire stays with the runner in terms of the tag.
But the Cardinals were wise to stay with the play just in case.
Yeah. Could be a key play in this game. Runners at first and second, and Ozuna.
.625.
Noticed Ozuna always talking to the home plate umpire, Yadier Molina. They said Gary Carter was one of those that would never stop talking at the plate.
I knew Gary, the late Gary Carter. Of course, we competed against him, and one of our foes, but really knew him off the field. Good guy, but boy, did he talk when you go into the batter. So how's your wife doing? How are the kids?
1-2.
Been to any good restaurants lately? I mean, you're trying to hit against
Doc Gooden?
Doc Gooden, and he wants to know how your kids are doing.
Now, did he do that at the plate too when he was in the batter's box?
Oh, yeah. Well, he definitely did it behind the plate.
Brebbia trying to put up a 0 here in the top of the 7th. The 1-2. Got him, a strikeout. Nice work by Brebbia. 96 on the gun. On this Independence Day, USAA honors those who have served and all of our service members at home and abroad. $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Missouri. He was in the Cardinals system. Kyle Barraclaw, hard throwing right-hander. Barraclaw was traded for Steve Cishek a couple of years ago.
Hard thrower.
Right when he got to Miami, they called him to the big leagues.
He's done a very good job in the bullpen. The Chevy called the bullpen. He's been effective. 3.13 ERA. A lot of strikeouts from Barraclaw.
He had 113 of those a year ago to lead the National League.
How about the numbers against lefties? Just 153 against him.
And the 4th best mark against right-handers. So he gets Garcia. One of the oddities of his season has been so good on the road. His ERA is .90 on the road. At home, his mark in 21 games, 5.71.
Don't often see that, do you?
No. Usually the other way around. High chopper to D. Gordon. Makes the play. Garcia retired. And Greg has accounted for the runs today with a 2-run shot that was back in the 5th. Al was talking about it the other day. The fact is the Cardinals have produced a lot of players that are still wearing a Cardinal uniform, but many that are now spread across the league. And here's another one.
But it's still a good endorsement of how good your minor league development system is that you can develop guys that other teams want and you get something in return for it. It still works in your favor. I mean, you want the homegrown guys, yes, but if they become chips for you to send somewhere else to get what you need, nothing wrong with that.
Here's a 1-0 pitch to Martinez. The Cardinals pinch hitters .345 the average, the on-base percentage of .423. So while last year it was really the power that stood out with the pinch hitters, this year it's the average and on-base percentage.
You mentioned that year with Bear Claw. He was with Peoria in 2014. Had a 1.13 ERA. Had 60 strikeouts in 40 innings for the Cardinals in A-ball. So he goes up to higher A the next year, goes to Springfield, and, well, months later, not long after, he's pitching in the big leagues with Miami.
It's kind of the trend now, isn't it? You get to Double-A. Used to be you go Double-A, Triple-A, Major League Baseball. Now, many times it's Double-A and then the jump to the big leagues.
One thing that's true, Dan, is that the prospects are all in Double-A. The guys in Triple-A are often prospects, but they're also guys that are on their way down, too. So they tend to be older players. So there are times where you keep the team-type guys that you expect to be your team in 3 or 4 years. You keep them together in Double-A if you can. That's not unusual. The jump from A-ball to Double-A, to me, is the hardest jump. Because you are just, I mean, you're just a hair away from being a big leaguer at that point. Consistency, of course, is the difference at each one of those levels.
The 2-2. Hung that pitch. Talking with those that follow the Marlins day in and day out, they say when Barraclaw is right, almost unhittable. But when he's bad, there's no middle ground. It's really bad with command, gets underneath the slider, just spins, doesn't break. The 2-2. Bird's eye view. Two balls, 2 strikes on Jose Martinez, and the next from Bearclaw. Popped it up. Watch out, it drops.
Get back.
If there's anybody you want to get out of the way for, it's probably Stanton.
That was a knock on Gordon a couple of years ago, that he was doing that quite a bit, where he was really getting in the way of some outfielders. That was especially when he was playing shortstop. But second base, he's calling for this all the way, and Stanton's calling for it too, and they both kind of bailed on it at the last minute. And I was concerned that Jose might have strayed a little bit too far off of first base, because he was thinking about going right here, and the catcher was behind him. Stanton didn't notice it right away, fortunately.
One out runner at first. And the Cardinals make him pay. Here's Carpenter. He's been on base twice with a walk and a single. Carpenter drives it out to left. That ball is down. Ozuna cuts it off. Matt Carpenter on base for the 3rd time this afternoon, and the tying run comes to the plate.
The Cardinals get a break, and they're trying to make it hurt. There's a bird's eye view of that Carpenter base hit to left center. Martinez picking it up, knowing he can go first to third, and the Cardinals in business here in the 7th.
First multi-hit game for Matt Carpenter since June 16th. Runners at the corners. Tommy Pham is 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. This big crowd ready to erupt. The 1-0. 2 balls and no strikes. Piscotty on deck. The Cardinals had a 2-0 lead. Ray Garcia 2-run homer. That was in the home half of the 5th. Marlins came back with 5 in the top of the 6th. They've out-hit the Cardinals 10-6. The 2-0.
Oh. Nice short stroke for Tommy Pham. A pitch he could handle. Middle of the plate. Just missed it.
Two-one. 2-2. $38,497 here on the 4th of July. 38497. The 2-2. And Pham strikes out for the 4th time. Tough afternoon for Tommy.
Tough pitch to handle. Tough pitch to lay off with 2 strikes.
That's now 9 strikeouts of the Cardinals. First for Bear Claw. Steckenrider had 1. Urania had 7. Really looking for one of those signature moments from Stephen Piscotty. Trevor Rosenthal is getting loose in the Cardinals' pen.
You feel like they're coming, we just haven't had them yet. I think that's a good point about Stephen. He's hitting 3rd in your lineup. You're expecting him to have some big games, some big moments. He's been okay, but we know he can be more than that, and will be.
With 2 outs and runners in scoring position, Piscotty batting .320. Home run, 10 RBIs in this spot. In the hole now, 0-2.
Cardinals don't need all of the runs back with 1 swing of the bat. That'd be nice, but you'd like to make that dropped fly ball in shallow right field count for something. Wild pitch would be fine.
The 1-2. Luke Voigt on deck. Two. 3-2. So runner at first. That's Carpenter off with this pitch. Jose Martinez, your runner at second base. Three-two pitch to Piscotty on the outside corner. Nasty slider. Caught him looking. Back-to-back strikeouts. The Cardinals have struck out 10 times today. Plaza Tire Service Fox Tracks, no argument from Piscotti. Cardinals trailing by the score of 5-2. Time now for What's in the Tank, brought to you by Phillips 66.
The rest of Rosenthal, he's rested the last couple of days. So has O. And these two guys are as important as anybody when you look at the second half of the season for the Cardinals. You'd love to see them just get red hot and be locked down in the 8th and 9th innings, but both of them are not right there right now.
So Justin Bour at the plate. We're in the top of the 8th. 3-run lead for Miami. Here's a 1-1. Bour today has walked back in inning number 5. Grounded to third, popped out to third. And the 2-1 pitch. 2-2. In the air to shallow right. Piscotti coming on, and he makes the catch. 1 away. Friday will be our annual This One's For You telecast. We hope you join us. Highlight the soldiers from the 1st Battalion 138th Infantry Regiment of the Missouri National Guard. That's Friday night. This One's For You. Rosenthal has retired the first man, and here's Martin Prado. Prado with a double to left field. Run scored back in that 5-run 6th. The 0-1. 0-2 the count.
Well, that's the count that Trevor Rosenthal needs to keep getting to. 0-1, 0-2. When he's right, that's what he's doing. Counting the strike zone. But if he starts overthrowing, trying to throw 105, I mean, he throws hard enough.
Tampa Bay in the bottom of the 7th, leading Chicago 6-3. Into right, Piscotty is there. Pittsburgh and the Phillies scoreless in the 3rd. Washington has already posted a win. That was over the Mets. And Milwaukee in the bottom of the 3rd against Baltimore, a 3-run lead. 2 outs. The key at bat in this game was JT Riddle on an 0-2 pitch against Tyler Lyons, and a base hit into right that scored 2.
Very different if it was a 3-2 game, no question about it. Tyler made a couple of mistakes. Good inning for Brevia. He's able to strand runners. And
Softly
looks like
hit towards second.
Good inning for Rosenthal.
1-2-3 go the Marlins. We head to the bottom of the 8th. Voit, Molina, Grichuk coming up, and the Cardinals trailing 5-2. Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light, famous among friends, and by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. Please no standing with the chairs folded up. Which is it, fella? You want me to sit? You want me to stand? David Phelps. A couple of St. Louis guys squaring off here. Luke Voit will lead it off. Phelps was with the Yankees, came over to Miami in a deal, and he has worked out of their bullpen. There's ball 1.
Love the moments at the ballpark, Dan. Yep. Never get tired of those. The great shots that we get. Our camera crew's so terrific at picking out moments that just are special. You care about the score. The Cardinals trailing by 3, but I'm sure that family won't remember that score today,
I can tell you that
10 years from now.
The little guy there, he has no idea what the score is. He's more concerned about the food.
All right.
Matt Carpenter look-alike. Luke Voit has a base hit that was back in the 6th off of Steckenrider. Phelps is the 4th pitcher used by Don Mattingly here today. And the 3-0. 3-2.
Whatever works.
And he struck him out. Fell behind 3-0 and comes back to strike him out.
Big Luke thinks his ball is low, but it's at the bottom part of the zone. Good pitcher's pitch from Phelps.
Phelps attended Hazelwood West High School. And then it was off to Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. Cardinals have struck out 11 times.
It's his third year with the Marlins after you mentioned he came up with the Yankees, played 3 years there, and he's been both a starter and a reliever. But really good numbers as a reliever last year. Seems to have found a home in the 8th inning.
His high school coach was the brother of Kyle McClellan, who was part of the world champion St. Louis Cardinals of 2011. Three of the last 4 games, double digits in strikeouts for the Cardinals. Used to say, well, what's going on? Now you say it's the norm.
Agreed.
Just part of the game today. Here's a 1-1 pitch to Yadier Molina.
Watch
out.
out.
Middle.
Oh, my.
And Phelps. Oh, man, is he okay? Thank goodness. Wow.
He's okay, but his heart is beating right now. 102 miles an hour off the bat of Yadier Molina. You have absolutely no time to react. That ball was past him. Squared up by Yadi. One more angle. The glove goes up really too late. It's past him by that time. Whew.
Here's Randall Grichuk. Hits it off the end of the bat out to left center. And Yelich over to make the catch.
We talked yesterday what a tough job Don Mattingly has with a team that has ownership issues going on, and you know he's just dealing with a lot of issues, and he's got a good lineup, but starting pitching has really betrayed him. He was such a good player, Dan. I loved watching Don Mattingly swing a bat. I think he had as sweet a swing as you could have from the left side. 307 career home runs, 9-time Gold Glover.
So he goes from being a Yankee, they're going to spend all kinds of money, to the Dodgers. They spend all kinds of money, to Miami. It's a completely different situation. So 2 outs, runner at first, and the 1-0 to DeYoung.
No disrespect to the other 29 managers, but I'm trying to think of a manager who was a better player than Don Mattingly was.
Paul Molitor, maybe?
Well, there you go. Hall of Famer. And maybe Mattingly should be. He's close.
He's close.
He's on the edge.
Here's a 1-1. And you bring up, I think, a great point where I don't know if it's ever right to say, well, it came easy for guys, because I don't think it comes easy for anybody. I mean, it's hard work and your God-given talent, but you got guys that grind just to make it to the big leagues, and then there's those like Don Mattingly, who was a superior player.
The great players do not always make the great managers.
Here's a 2-1 pitch. Runner goes, and it's popped up. Foul territory. Bohr with room, and he makes the catch. Cardinals go quietly in the home half of the 8th. We head to the 9th of the 4th of July. It's 5-2. And Seung-Hwan Oh will take over. At this point, Rick, and I don't mean to put you on the spot too much here, but
who's the closer?
Yeah.
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that. I'd give you Mike Matheny's answer. We'll let you know when we get there.
Yeah.
He's trying not to give that away, and I'm not sure that he has a good feel for what the right answer is at this moment. You know, O certainly earned that opportunity last year. Has had a rough patch, but so is Trevor right behind him. Unfortunately, it makes it a hard choice for Mike because both guys are not at their best. O has been not as sharp with the slider. Been giving up the home run ball late. You can't just ignore that.
Here's A.J. Ellis.
Of course, it's a moot point in a game you're trailing by 3 and a chance for both of them to get some more work. I think it'll materialize as they continue to pitch. You earn your spot. The manager just doesn't anoint you closer. You earn the closer. And you have to keep earning the closer. I think that's why most managers are so hesitant to say, yes, he's the guy. Because next week it's somebody else and you say, well, I thought you said he was the guy. Well, he was. Until he gave up home runs and had to go to plan B.
Championship years recently here with the Cardinals. You go back to 06. It was Jason Isringhausen until his body gave out. Then Wainwright thrust into that spot. 2011, it was Jason Mott at the tail end. The fly ball lifted into right, but Scotty under it. And makes the catch. What a great deal on Cardinals tickets. Fill up at Phillips 66 with 8 gallons or more now until September 25th. Receive up to 50% off on a pair of tickets to a Cardinals home game. For more information, visit cardinals.com/Phillips66. Won the count on Derek Dietrich. So left on the bench, JT Realmuto, the backup catcher today. And it's 0-2.
Well, if I was writing a story for the perfect 4th of July ending, I would have, let's see, 3 men on, 2 outs. Luke Voigt at the plate, bottom of the 9th. Walk off. Danny Mac call.
I'd lose my mind. Some say that's already happened. Watch your step.
Were you reading my face?
It's too easy.
That was too easy. That was a hanging slider you just threw. You don't always get the right to script, but sometimes it happens in this game.
A.J. Ramos getting loose in the pen for Miami.
I tell you, regardless of what happens, if you can get the bases loaded with 2 outs and Luke Voigt to the plate, that'd be a nice moment.
Oh, yeah. So 2 outs, nobody on. Here's D. Gordon, a 3-hit afternoon. Slaps it foul. Now with the screens that are over both dugouts, if you're a player, you've got to pay attention too. They hit the screen and then drop straight down. Here's the 0-2. That's over the screen and a souvenir.
Oh, one-handed.
Very calm too at making that catch. No big deal.
He's just playing it off like it. Yeah,
no big deal. 0-2.
Why wouldn't I?
And a strikeout of Gordon. So we head to the bottom of the 9th. The Cardinals down by 3. The pen, the closer for Miami, 13 of 14 in save opportunities.
Don't let the ERA fool you. 3.38, where you would say, well, that's average, but he's been way better than that when he's been used in the role as closer. He's given up a fair number of runs. You mentioned it yesterday in mop-up roles. Ramos can be really very nasty. He just has not had a lot of work. Miami has won a lot of games by a lot of runs, and they've lost a lot of games by a lot of runs, depending upon their starting pitching. So he has not gotten consistent work, but a chance for a save here on the 4th of July. The Cardinals have other plans.
Fourth reliever used for Miami. Greg Garcia with a 2-run homer. That was back in the 5th inning. That made it 2-0 Cardinals. And Miami has come back with 5 unanswered. They don't hit the Cardinals 10-7. Bullpen of Miami has done a nice job here in game 2.
Yes, they have.
There's strike 1. Alex Mejia has moved to the on-deck circle. The 0-2 in the dirt. The 2-2 inside.
That's Garcia's job. Anyway, get on base, work the count. Plan A is to get a hit. Plan B is to get a walk or get hit. Whatever it takes.
3-2 pitch. Struck him out. He may have chased a ball, and that's the first out here in the 9th.
Yeah, I'm not sure you can lay off this pitch. It's a strike all the way to there, and it still is right at the end.
Alex Mejia. And he looks at a ball. Here's a 1-0 pitch to Mejia. 2 balls and no strikes.
Ramos throws hard enough for a closer, 95, but breaking pitch is really tough to square.
So in this game, the Cardinals have struck out 12 times.
Wouldn't really say this is a game of missed opportunities. The Cardinals haven't had a lot of them.
Ground ball. 2 outs. Christian Yelich with a big blast in this game. The Cardinals at that point leading 2-0, 2 runners on, and this a 3-run homer.
Game change with 1 swing of the bat. That gave the Marlins the lead. Then the 2-run single that came up later made it a tougher hill to climb.
Our play of the game, presentation of Budweiser. 3-run homer by Yelich back in the 6th inning. His 8th of the year. So the final hope is Carpenter. Matt has been on base 3 times. A walk, base hit to right, base hit to left center. Strike 1.
Still hoping for that base hit, base hit, base hit. And Luke Voigt.
Here's the 0-1. Fly ball. This should do it. Ozuna near the edge of the track and makes the catch. Ball game comes to a close. Miami holds on for a 5-2 win.
I'm still hoping for that moment, but I'm not going to get it. Yelich leads the way. 5-run Marlin 6th inning against Lance Lynn that came out of nowhere. Marlins have a outstanding lineup, and it showed in that inning. Disappointing loss today, but we think everybody enjoyed being at the ballpark on the 4th of July.
And it's off to the postgame show. All the stats and highlights and news around the major leagues. Scott Warman, Al Roboski standing by. 5-2 the final. The Marlins over the Cardinals.